nerds of the universe, and welcome to Nerd Talk. So we all know Minecraft, right? I mean, it's pretty hard to have not at least heard about this game. It's been around for over 10 years now, and it's sold more copies than any other game in history. But it's only been in the last couple of years that the internet has discovered that there is more to this game than just placing and breaking blocks. Many, including myself, have realized that this game has lore. An overarching story and history that gets more and more detailed the more you look at it. And the reason I mention this is because it was because of the lore of Minecraft that I realized I wanted to do YouTube. One day I was watching MatPat from Game Theory's video about Minecraft lore, and for the first time I realized that I disagreed with him on many things. I was so sure, in fact, that I scoured the internet looking for somebody who would talk about my theories, until I realized I could do this. I could make my own theories. So here it is, nerds. My first Minecraft lore theory. The third civilization in Minecraft. To catch you up on some of the lore, and to why I say the third civilization, is because two others have already been confirmed by my friend MatPat from Game Theory. And though I don't agree with many of his Minecraft theories, these ones were pretty spot on. In his first theory, he discussed how the Endermen were once a civilization of ancient builders. They constantly expanded their technology until someone or something forced them to retreat to the end dimension as the portal closed behind them. Unable to get back to their dimension, they had to adapt to survive, and with their only source of food being chorus fruit, which hung from tall trees, they eventually evolved to grow taller with longer arms. And after constantly eating a fruit that makes you teleport when you eat it, they developed the ability on their own. We, the player, are the last descendant of this ancient race of builders. But there was another civilization that MatPat theorized about, the pirate civilization. A civilization that had armies of ships and built elaborate temples, but these temples were eventually flooded, and the civilization had to adapt to living underwater, where they built the Guardians and Elder Guardians to protect these monuments. But as they searched for a way that could save their civilization, it was too late, and they would eventually succumb to the zombie virus that plagued their world, becoming the Drowned. However, I believe that there is a third civilization, one left undiscovered by anyone, and it all has to do with skeletons. You see, everything in Minecraft is hostile, neutral, or passive towards you, the player, for a reason. We know why zombies are because they are trying to spread the virus. But skeletons always seem to get overlooked. Even the mob bestiary says that skeletons are far smarter than zombies, seeing as they are able to use bows and arrows. And since skeletons clearly aren't spreading a disease with their arrows, why are they hostile towards us? I believe that these skeletons are the remains of what I call the Horseman civilization, a race of horse nomads skilled in using bows and arrows and in riding horses. And the evidence is right in our crafting table. Since you, the player, are a descendant of the builder civilization, you are able to craft everything that they knew how to craft. But you can't craft everything. Things like tridents, hearts of the sea, and guardians can't be built or crafted, because those were pieces of technology from the pirate civilization. But there was always something the player couldn't craft that seemed a bit off to me. Saddles. That and horse armor. You'd think with all the incredibly complex things we can craft that saddles and horse armor would be easy. But the fact that we can't craft them means that someone else discovered the technology. And it's unlikely that it was the pirate civilization, since they always traveled by water, not land. And there was only one type of mob that can naturally spawn on a horse. And that's a skeleton. We know this thanks to a mob known as the skeleton horse. And the skeleton horse is actually very important to this theory because it confirms a few things for us. A. Being undead does not immediately make you hostile. Skeleton horses act just like normal horses, which means the fact that the skeletons are undead is not the reason they are hostile. They are consciously attacking us. B. Skeletons and skeleton horses are not the result of a virus like the zombies are. I say this because of a mob that is specific to creative mode, the zombie horse. This is a mob that can only appear in creative, which means it doesn't actually exist in the lore of Minecraft. But the developers put this mob in creative for a reason. Because the big difference between a zombie horse and a skeleton horse is that zombie horses cannot be ridden or tamed, signifying the difference between a zombified creature and an undead creature. The zombie horse, much like the zombie, has no intellect or soul of any kind. unlike skeletons and skeleton horses. And C. Skeletons know how to ride skeleton horses. At this point, it is pretty well known that if you walk towards a skeleton during a thunderstorm, lightning will strike it, spawning in 4 skeleton horsemen riding skeleton horses. Not only that, they have full control over the horses, demonstrating an understanding of how to ride them. This could also explain why you can sometimes see skeletons riding spiders, creating the formidable spider jockey. All these things point to skeletons and horses having a history. Knowing all this, if we go back to the fact that we can't craft saddles and horse armor, I think it's pretty clear who did. They could also be the ones who discovered chainmail armor, the one armor variant not craftable by the player. So with all that being said, I think we've pinpointed who the skeletons were, an ancient race of horsemen. But this also opens up a few questions, like why they are hostile towards us, how they all died, and most importantly, how they came back to life. Well, the first question I think is pretty easy to answer. We are the last known descendant of the Builder civilization, who were obsessed with expanding their influence and most importantly, gaining more knowledge and technology. So it's safe to assume that the ability and technology to ride horses and armor them for war would be appealing to these builders. But the fact that skeletons are hostile towards us means that the horsemen probably didn't hand over this information willingly. And you know what happens when a growing empire wants something and doesn't get it. They start a war. Which is what answers our second question, how they all died. And that's where this theory starts to get a bit dark. At the end of the day, we still don't know how to craft saddles or horse armor, which means the horsemen stood their ground to the very end and never once gave up their knowledge. And whether they were all killed in the war or in its aftermath, they were wiped out due to the selfishness of the builders. But there is one question left. Who or what brought them back? We know that the ancient builders were trying to unlock the secrets of immortality, evident from several craftable items that are geared towards giving you more hearts and even respawning, which is a whole theory for another time. But there was one group of people who excelled at experimenting with immortality. That's right, the angry Squidward wannabe models themselves, the Illagers. Now, I plan on making a full-length video about the Illagers in the future, but for now, all you need to know is that they were villagers. They got angry at the builders and went on to become rivals to the builders, not only building tall, elaborate mansions, but also coming fairly close to learning the secrets of immortality. Like the Totem of Undying, for example, where whoever holds it will be able to survive a death blow. The Evokers are even further evidence of this, as they call upon the Vex, angry spirits that will attack whoever the Evoker commands them to. They may even be the ones who created the zombie virus. There is a room in the Woodland Mansion that is filled with blue, light blue, and cyan wool, precisely the colors that correspond with Steve's clothing. Now, just seeing some wool in the corner of a room is a big leap in logic to assume that they created a zombie virus, but zombies do wear the same colored clothes. But have you ever found it weird that zombies don't attack Illagers? As if they were designed to not attack their creators, perhaps? But why should that mean that it was the Illagers who brought back the skeletons? Well, there's a bit of evidence in the game to suggest that these two were in league even before the Horsemen were wiped out. And it all comes down to the igloo. Igloos are quite rare structures in Minecraft, but they have a chance to have a secret basement inside of them. And in those basements, you will find 2 villagers trapped in cages, along with a potion stand, as if someone had captured these villagers and started doing experiments on them. We know that this is something Illagers do, based off of Ravagers being mutated villagers and Vindicators being enhanced villagers. But they always build big, elaborate structures like mansions and outposts, nothing as small and simple as a one-man igloo. Well, there is one person that could have done this. Think about it for a second. What is the one and only hostile mob that spawns specifically in snowy or icy biomes? The Stray, aka the Skeleton, aka the remnants of the Horseman civilization. I believe that these two had a common enemy, the Builders, but the Illagers also had a grudge on the Villagers, despite the fact that the Horsemen had no qualms with them. They would assist in helping them experiment on villagers. So after the Horsemen were wiped out, the Illagers brought them back, along with their trusty steeds, creating the Skeletons and the Skeleton Horses. This is even supported by the game Minecraft Dungeons, where we see the illager armies and the skeleton armies meet together to join forces against you and the villagers. There's even a skeleton-based mom in Minecraft Dungeons named the Necromancer. And you might be saying, well, those other games are their own separate games. They aren't related to the lore of Minecraft. Really? Then why are there entire missions in Minecraft Story Mode about an ancient civilization called the Old Builders? And tell me, do you recognize this blue mushroom forest? Taken straight from Minecraft Story Mode 2, way before the release of the Nether update. I'm just saying, though these games aren't a part of the Minecraft canon, they could help us unlock secrets to the main game. Now I could end this theory here. I have more than enough evidence, and this video is getting pretty lengthy as it is. But this theory has the potential to go one step further, because even though the Horseman civilization did eventually lose, I have evidence that not only was this a long war, but the Horsemen almost won. So we know that the war of the Builders and the Horsemen started in the overworld, but we also know that the Horsemen made it to the Nether, as seen by the soul sand valleys that are filled with skeletons. Now MatPat had a theory that set out to prove that wither skeletons were the charred remains of the Builders, and they fight Piglins because the Piglins were once pigs that were brought into the Nether by the Builders and turned into Piglins through experimentation. But I don't quite agree with this theory. If that was the case, then why did the wither skeletons attack us? And why would the Blazes be programmed to attack us? And why would the Illagers bring back fallen ancient builders? Well, it's simple. MatPat was wrong. These are not the ancient builders. These are yet more members of the Horseman civilization, and I can prove it. You know how you see diamonds and iron and gold in chests in the fortresses, but the only armor or weapons you get are gold? Well, you know what you do find in these chests? Horse armor, which the builders wouldn't have lying around in their fortresses. Also, if the wither skeletons really were the builders, why would they have stone swords? You discover iron way before you get to the Nether, sometimes even diamonds. And they know how to make more advanced swords, so why would they be using stone swords? You know who might use stone swords, though? Maybe a group of people whose main weapons are bows, and they needed some close-quarters combat fighters. Maybe after the builders switched to better swords, the horsemen found the stone ones lying around without use. But this last piece of evidence is the smoking gun for me. It all has to do with advancements. Some advancements in Minecraft have pretty basic names, but these two made me stop and think. When you find the Nether Fortress, you get the advancement, a terrible fortress, which makes sense. But when you enter a bastion, you get the advancement, those were the days. Even though the bastion possesses just as much threat as the fortresses, you, the player, reminisce about the good old days when you find it again. And the loot that you find in bastions is even more evidence. Inside, you can find diamond armor and weapons along with pieces of netherite, even though piglins only use gold. Do you see where I'm going with this? We weren't at war with the piglins, we fought alongside them against the horsemen. But that does raise one more question. Well, actually two. The first one, why do the piglins attack us unless we wear gold? Well, though they are now bipedal and more intelligent, they are still pigs. They can't really identify the difference between two humans. So the builders would use gold armor in order for the piglins to differentiate between the two sides. The second question is, why do the piglin brutes attack us regardless of whether we're wearing gold or not? Well, this is where I think the theory gets really dark. The horsemen and the builders are fighting it out in the Nether, the piglins fighting alongside the builders. Both have fought valiantly. We can see this from the destruction of both fortresses and bastions. But somehow, the horsemen gained the upper hand. Seeing that losing was inevitable, the builders devised a plan to abandon the piglins, retreat to the overworld, and destroy the portals behind them, trapping the horsemen into the Nether, when they would all eventually die, only to be resurrected later by the illagers. But most of the piglins didn't notice. They were too busy fighting, but some of them saw and never forgot. The lust for power is a dangerous thing. It can make you wipe out an entire civilization, abandon your allies, and decimate the people you love. The story of the skeletons is a tragic one, but just remember these wise words. It can only get worse from here. But with that, fellow nerds, this episode of Nerd Talk has come to a close. Tell me what theories you have, Minecraft or otherwise, that you want to see next on this channel. And please subscribe if you were excited for the 100 subscriber special. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. They could all tune in. I could tell you the date it will premiere, but I don't know what that will be either. So leave a comment if you're bursting with anticipation as well. And with that, I'll see you nerds in the next video. Nerd out!